And joining us now to discuss Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's trip to the United States and the Saudi-EU New Peace Initiative is member of Knesset for the Likud, Boaz Bismuth. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, a new EU-Saudi plan for a two-state solution will welcome Prime Minister Netanyahu when he arrives at the UN. Was Israel ready for this? And if so, what is the response?
Well, the only thing I know is that Israel is always keen, is always excited, is always delighted to have an opening for a peace treaty with any Arabic country. This is a fact. I mean, this is something that Israel wanted ever since the creation of the State of Israel. You have to understand that in 1979, there was a game changer in our region when the peace treaty with Egypt was signed. The second game changer that we had was in the year 2020, when on the 15th of September in Washington, the Abraham Accords were signed. And I must say that I thought, believed, hoped that a fifth Arabic country will join those Abraham Accords. We did wait. I mean, here in Israel, we had a certain political turmoil, which I think delayed this fifth country to arrive. And if finally it will be Saudi Arabia, that would be great. Now, concerning you mentioned the two-state solution, you mentioned the price, or what did I say? I mean, what will happen after the negotiations in order to reach such a peace treaty or normalization also with our next friends, the Saudis? Then let's wait and see. I mean, this is, let's don't jump on neither conclusions nor results of negotiations before we really, finish and sign this deal. And again, let's, be patient.
But rather than momentum towards the Israeli-Saudi normalization, we are actually in recent days seeing sort of pushback, demanding numerous Israeli concessions for normalization. Do you think, as part of the coalition, are you ready to make such concessions to the Saudis?
Well, again, as I said before, we are very keen for peace. We would like to have the maximum peace agreements with the maximum Arabic states. We do believe, this is the path. This is where we have to go. And by the way, when I say that, I think that also our next Arabic friends understand perfectly well the world of tomorrow. Meaning, today you've got on one side you've got the Islamic Jihad, you've got Hamas, you've got Hezbollah, and at the end of that path or road, you've got, of course, Iran, and on the other side you've got countries like Egypt. You've got countries like the Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, of course, and hopefully, Saudi Arabia, for me, also is in this path or direction. And therefore, I see that what unites us today is much more than what divides us. But again, you said concessions. What do we know? We don't know yet. And let's not talk about concessions. Let's, on the contrary, right now, talk about this perspective that we are, which is kind of amazing.
Now, you mentioned also sort of the turmoil here within Israel with regards to the legal reform. So the Prime Minister arrived in the U.S. greeted by protests, by anti-Israel protests, activists, following him essentially everywhere he goes outside of his meeting with Elon Musk in California and now again in New York. And rather than sort of welcoming them as a vibrant, sign of a vibrant democracy, he compared them to anti-Israeli terrorist groups. So, what is your take on this? Aren't comments like that perhaps a little counterproductive?
I don't understand your question, honestly. Is America a democracy? Is America a country that we all respect? Of course. What is the rule in America, for example, is when a president is abroad, or when you're abroad, you do not speak against your president. You respect your president, whether he's Republican or Democrat. By the way, let me tell you something. Before being a politician, I used to be a journalist, and I remember I interviewed Mitt Romney, and that was in the States, and he said, "Don't expect me to say anything bad about President Obama because I think we're outside America, or we don't do that outside the country. We respect him." Why do I say that? Because the demonstrators yesterday, they crossed not a red line because they did it a long time ago, but what they did yesterday was a disgrace. And I was expecting the Israeli opposition, I was expecting my friends in the media, on the contrary, to be all of us united and to say that what was done yesterday was shameful, was a disgrace, was not done. And I'll explain to you exactly why. Because everybody's very shocked about anti-Semitism in the world. Everybody's very shocked about the BDS, movement. What have they done yesterday? They go to the UN while the Israeli Prime Minister would speak to the UN. By the way, democratically elected. He's going to speak for the 12th time over there. And he's going to speak against, of course, Iran, the nuclear project, etc., about the enemies of Israel. And what do they want to screen on the building? Don't believe him, he's a liar. And the day before, on Alcatraz, the most famous jail in the world, that everybody who sees movies know that jail perfectly well. And to put a picture of my prime minister, of their prime minister, of a prime minister democratically elected, to put him with clothes of a prisoner, and to say that this is his place, I mean, this is a shameful, this is a disgrace. You don't do that. There is a minimum of respect. You can disagree politically. You can, of course, demonstrate. You can have opposition. You would like Netanyahu to not to be prime minister again. All that is legitimate. The newspapers or the media can be against us, as they are, by the way. This is totally legitimate. Yet, don't forget, on the 1st of November, we had elections in Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu was democratically elected. And Israeli population is not stupid. If that man was prime minister ever since 1996 to 1999, from 2009 to 2021, and from 2022, December 2022, he's back in power, it means that the Israelis, I mean, are not influenced by all those noises that people make. So to go back to your question again, a vivid democracy is not a democracy that would like to offend itself. I'm very sorry. There are limits, and the democracy, it doesn't mean because you're a Democrat that you want also to commit to suicide or a stain on your country, on your nation, or on symbols of a nation.
Now, Netanyahu also told Elon Musk yesterday that the original judicial reform presented by his government was a mistake and that it went too far. What do you think about that? And, why does he refuse to say that here in Israel?
First of all, that's again, I'm very sorry to be, how would I say, more accurate, meaning we know, exactly on the 5th of January when the Ministry of Justice presented the reform, it was 4 laws, by the way. And when you present a law in the Knesset, in the parliament, when you present it at the end of the day or the end of the journey of a law, of a bill, if you prefer, I mean, you do make changes. I mean, you have negotiations around the table in the committee, of course, in the law committee. Here, in this case, I mean, they totally, opposition refused. Instead of being around the table, they were on the table. And figuratively, they were on the table. And of course, the judges of the Supreme Court looked at us, as if we came here to contest or in order to arm them. On the contrary, we only came, how would I say, to be, in order to improve the democracy in Israel, and there will be more between institutions. It will be fair as it was in the future, and not a Supreme Court, or how would I say, the institution that is the judicial institution will be above the other. Yet, what the Prime Minister wanted to say is that he also, first of all, he supports the reform. He said it, he says it, and he will continue with it. The only thing is, in those 4 laws, there might be 1 or 2 where he disagrees or where he sees things differently. Yet there is one thing that I can speak for myself, of course, I can speak for myself, and I believe that Prime Minister also thinks the same, but again, I will not speak for Prime Minister, is the committee that elects judges. This needs to be changed. In this case, I don't think that we will have to make any concessions about it, and over there, in order to have, at the end of the day, judges in the Supreme Court that will present better the Israeli population, because it's not the case right now. That's the only thing. Now I want to ask you a question. In what way to have a more balanced committee that chooses or elects judges? In what way, if I would like it to be more fair and balanced, in what way am I arming democracy in Israel? This is totally nonsense. But why am I so, yet I can say, why am I so angry? Because yesterday I saw demonstrators who do not look at facts, who do not really look at what we're doing. For them, anything we shall do, it will allow them, permit them to go abroad outside Israel and to say that Israel is turning into a dictatorship. And anyone who knows exactly our reform, anyone who knows the history of Israel, anyone who knows the culture of Israel, anyone who knows the personality of Benjamin Netanyahu, anyone who knows our party, the Likud, and our coalition, knows how much this is totally, absolutely nonsense.
All right, Boaz Bismuth, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.